Hey guys, this is the Fat Panda, and I am back with another power ranking video. This is going to be a video that goes over what happened in weeks 2 and weeks 3 of the WPFB League. Missed 1 week of videos because I was waiting for a match and decided just to lump it all together into a 2-week vid. If there are going to be any other extensions or missed battles or anything like that, I will probably just not take those into account so I can keep getting videos out on a weekly basis. A lot of information to go over for 2 weeks worth of matches and some team changes and some coaching changes. So we'll get started on that. Straight into the rankings, I guess. At number 1, we will still have the Cherry Grove Charizards. 2 weeks more worth of battles, 2 straight wins. Not really surprising when you look at the team. Week 2, he managed to use the Toxapex to great extent to stop a Snorlax from cursing up repeatedly. Kept bouncing around with U-turn mons and regenerator mons until Scissor found itself in a good sweep spot, set up a Swords Dance, got a couple kills, and the team kind of cleaned from there. In week 3, the opponent just couldn't break through the regen, the Toxapex, and once again, the whole team contributed to get the team pretty clean, I believe 6-0 victory. Week 2, 3 total MVP. Tapu Bulu got a couple kills each week, has been putting in a ton of work for him. I still will be stunned to watch him lose. If he ever does, it's just incredible what he's managed to pull off with this team. At number 2, we have the Sacramento Kingler, clawing back up after a week 1 loss with a couple quick wins and some team changes. Week 2 managed to use Mimikyu to great extent with that disguise ability. Stopped a Metagross that had set up an agility, and with a Sword Stance under its belt thanks to the disguise, managed to snag quite a few kills. Easily got itself the MVP of the week and the team overall itself. Week 3, he came against his Rain team in his division, but with great play from Ludicolo and his other Rain answers, just completely dominated it. I couldn't believe his opponent actually brought Rain, but he definitely brought the tools to beat it. Got some roster changes too. Decided that he was going to give up on the Mega Audino. Just felt like he had to bring it almost every week with Clerics and wanted to change things around a little. Can't really blame him. It's such a specialized Mega, and it's not terribly great at what it does even still, so maybe dropping it and balancing out the team a little more will help him stay on the top. Mega Gallade is fantastic, and then got himself some just basically switching the types around. Still has his Dark type with Mandibuzz, picked up a different Psychic with Mesprit. Look like pretty good changes. His team is still very, very strong, and I expect a lot more wins out of him. Number 3, we have the Miami Dinos. He had a week 2 Lycanroc lead that with Sash and Endeavor and Rocks, it basically just absolutely set the tone of the match and allowed Celesteela to kind of clean up. Week 3, he bounced around until the team was whittled down, brought in a Diggersby, set up a Swords Dance, and just absolutely cleaned with returns and quick attacks. Nothing his opponent could do. Their team was all weak, and Diggersby managed to get a pretty nice 6 kills in the week 3 match. Number 4, with the Wyong Washing Machines, clawing their way up the rankings week by week, has gone up every single time, haven't lost a match, playing fantastic. They, week 2, managed to set up some hazards. I think they got 3 layers of spikes. The opponent was forced to keep switching to deal with the various tanky threats he was bringing in, got worn down, and he just kind of took them apart with that. Week 3, managed to find himself in a good spot to set up with Curse Muck, and swept with, I think it got 4 or 5 kills there. Curse Muck with Recycle and the Fat Berry is such a good way to kind of take apart teams that don't have a quick way to take it out. Number 5, we have the Michigan Diamond Storm. Had a rough week 2. Despite having Magic Bounce on 2 of the Pokemon on their team, allowed 3 layers of spikes to go up, got worn down, and there wasn't really any way to come back from that. Like I said in the very first video, really needs a better way to get rid of hazards than something like Xatu or Kartana. Comfey can, but it's also not good at it. Because if he can't scare them off with either Xatu or a pre-evolved Absol Mega, then they're just going to go up and he can't get rid of them, and it's going to wear him down every time. Similar story in week 3. Immediately got webs put up against him, but fortunately he was able to kind of out-offense the Motherland Mawile, both incredibly offensive teams. Even with the webs, he was able to get the favorable matchup in the KO battle and came out on top, even with the webs against him. At number 6, we have the Gotham Darkrai. Week 2, not much to speak about. He got a forfeit win because his opponent brought a Zygarde complete instead of a Zygarde 50%. Week 3, got to show what he was made of, though, with a Umbreon, Alomomola, Zapdos core that his opponent just could not break. They didn't bring any real setup, and those 3 were basically able to whittle down the entire team by themselves. It was quite great to watch. At number 7, we have the Philadelphia Pangoros. Week 2 also got a forfeit win due to their opponent's inactivity. And week 3, they brought full rain against the Sacramento Kingler, who brought their Ludicolo and other rain answers, and they weren't able to deal with the fact that the opponent's rain answers were better than what he had. I was surprised he brought rain in week 3. I would have probably ignored it. Maybe brought like Coco Lucha instead to try and take advantage of the rain or the anti-rain mons not being as efficient in that kind of matchup instead. He hasn't actually brought Hawlucha in any of the matches so far. Well, he may have brought it he may have been planning to bring it week 2. I guess we'll never know. But it hasn't actually seen action yet for such a strong mon when you consider it with Tapu Koko. Kind of hope he brings it soon. I'd like to kind of watch it take lives, as it is known for. At number 8, we have the Motherland Mawile. Week 2 was a pretty good approximation of what I would expect this team to be able to do. He got rocks up early, and then the Hoopa and the Glycopod there were no answers for him. They would come in against something they could take, and basically get the KO on the switch and retreat back, and it was just, it was exactly what I would expect out of this team. It just absolutely showed the hyper offensive potential. In week 3, slightly different story. He got webs up turn 1, but he managed to fall behind in the KO battle, and this is not a team that looks terribly able to claw back from a deficit. There's not a lot of ways for it to swing the advantage, and he did end up falling in the week 3 match, but if he can get that quick advantage, there's not many teams that are going to be able to take it back from them. At number 9, we have AK's team. This is the team that I have the hardest time ranking. I still don't really know how good it is. Back in week 1, he set up turn 1 with Slurpuff and won right after turn 1. Week 2, he unfortunately brought Zygarde complete to a match and had to forfeit. And then week 3, he set up with a Minior turn 1 and once again won in 6 turns. I still haven't really seen this coach play because they either win immediately or lose immediately in turn 1. So it's going to take a few more weeks for me to see where this team is out. Right now, 2-1 record is good, but I just haven't seen anything. So I'm still going to kind of hold off on forming an opinion of the AK team. At number 10, we have the Auckland Articunos. Not a great couple weeks. Week 2, he managed to get his Metagross set up with an agility, but unfortunately, when a Mimikyu came in, set up a Swords Dance on an attack with the disguise, he had no answer for it and promptly lost. The prepping for that disguise can be very difficult, but allowing a Mimikyu to take 4 KOs, even if you manage to take it out after that, rarely are you going to be in a good matchup. Week 3, he did get a forfeit win to get 1 win on the books from an opponent inactive. But, so far of the matches we've seen, 2 losses. Hopefully, we see some wins out of him against real opponents and not forfeits. We'll see what he's got for the next week. Number 11, we have the Beverly Hills Bibarel. This is one of the coaches that unfortunately has left us. He was inactive for 2 weeks, but we found a replacement. He made some changes, and I can't wait to see what we're going to have out of him. Out of the changes, I like Terrakion. I don't know how good it is these days, but when you look at what he's got, it actually does pair pretty well with the Latios Victini, so you can his top, his cream of the crop. It does actually fit in pretty darn well there. Thundurus was fine, but I just have a soft spot for Terrakion, so I'm hopeful to see some interesting things there. With his lower tier free trades there, Avalugg for Oricorio is kind of a wash. Avalugg's, a defensive emergency button. Oricorio, you get 4 forms, 4 typings. It's got access to Calm Mind. Its ability kind of messes with Quiver Dance and Dragon Dance users. So it'll have a spot. It'll probably come a couple times. Hopefully do some things. Girder for Vivillon. They're both actually pretty darn good tier 5s for what tier 5s are. Girder's a really tanky threat that can set up with Bulk Up and has Mach Punch, Drain Punch, all the fun fighting moves. Vivillon's got those 93 or whatever % accurate Sleep and Hurricane, and with a Quiver Dance or something can completely take over a game. So that'll be fun to watch. I'm looking forward to seeing what the new coach can get the Beverly Hills Bibarel to do. At number 13, we have the Canine Tiger. 1 win out of the 2 weeks we've seen, out of the 2 weeks that we're looking over this time. Got incredibly lucky, not even going to lie. At the end of the match, his opponent had a 100% win rate. There wasn't a way to hack him out. There wasn't, he had lost. But his opponent didn't see the line of victory, made a couple mistakes, and the Canine Tiger managed to capitalize on that and get a win. Week 3, not quite as happy of a story. Going up against the Gotham Darkrai, he didn't bring any real setup, and he had no chance of breaking through Umbreon and Alomomola and Zapdos. It was just a slow death to watch because he couldn't break them at all. At number 14, we have the Seattle Celebi. Unfortunately, yet to log a victory for this season. This is the team that unfortunately week 2 did throw the 100% win against the Canine Tiger. Just didn't quite see it. It's something that they'll see when they get a little bit more experience, and those kind of scenarios won't pass them by. I do still like the team. I like the sand core. Lopunny really likes the sand. I'm sure he'll get his wins. It just hasn't quite come yet. Number 15, we have the Happy Valley Harayamas. Now this is a team you may never have heard of. Why are they in here? This is formerly the Tacoma Tyrannitars. The coach of the Tacoma Tyrannitars did retire due to personal issues, so we found a new coach, and they decided to add their own little spin on the team, change the name, new logo, and some new mons as well. So they dropped Togekiss, Espeon, and Tangela for Chestnut, Aerodactyl, and Ambipom. I don't personally agree with the changes that much. I think that if you're going to get 3 new things, you really need some special offense on that team. I mean, he's already got Beedrill Mega, he's got Garchomp, Gyarados, Snorlax, Electros, which is usually physical. If you look at that team, especially now, there isn't that much special offense on there. Clefable can be, but it is often defensive as well. Empoleon can be, but once again is often defensive. So he's going to really need to find ways to break through those physical walls that his opponents are going to be bringing now, because they don't necessarily need that much special defense to kind of wall his team. Hopefully it doesn't come up too much, but even with, new coach and new changes, not holding the record against them, I'm still pretty worried about how this team is going to perform. And then number 16 still sits the Patchum. A couple weeks, hasn't managed to get a victory out yet. Week 2, he spent the first few turns of the match kind of setting up with Speed Pass Ninjask. Unfortunately, let rocks get up, and then he lost it because Swampert had Roar, and he just basically couldn't recover from there, got overwhelmed, and lost the match. The third week, what did he do? Oh, he was against the Wyong Washing Machines, tried his darndest to deal with the team, but that Makalola set up a couple curses, and he didn't have any phasing of his own, couldn't break it, and unfortunately lost the match there. With Zeraora and Mew and whatnot, I'm sure he'll get his wins. They're just not quite coming yet. So we have the full rankings here. There are some bigger increases and drops than you would normally see because it was 2 weeks instead of 1. But I'm starting to like where these teams are kind of fiddling themselves into place. Some teams, like AK's team, I still have absolutely no idea how to really rank them. So those might still see some bigger jumps. But, you know, I think they're looking pretty good now. Got the MVP track up here this time. I actually remembered to do it. Number 1, we have, of course, AK's Minior, which has a +6 because it came to 1 match. Got 6 KOs after a turn 1 Shell Smash. And what do you do after that? Michigan Diamond Storms, Necrozma, still riding high from that week 1 weakness policy sweep. It's come to, I think, every single match, but it hasn't really managed to make an impression outside of that week 1. Miami's Diggersby managed to absolutely destroy the week 3 opponent with its Sword Sand set. It's only at +5 even after getting 6 KOs because it did come a previous week and lost, but it's looking pretty darn good, and I love Diggersby, so I cannot wait to see what else it has to do. So these are the rankings for the week 3. Can't wait to watch your week 4 battles. I don't actually think one has happened yet, so I haven't had to ignore anything so far. And I'll see you guys next week.